Dr. Kim Mina felt her stomach drop as the deep-sea submersible descended through the black water of the Pacific Ocean. They were going deeper than any human had ever gone before, almost 7 miles down into the Mariana Trench, where the pressure could crush a person in seconds. "How much deeper?" she asked Lee Hyun, who was controlling their small submarine from the pilot seat. "Another 1,000 feet, he replied, his eyes fixed on the glowing instruments. "The sonar readings are getting strange down here." Park Juno looked up from his computer screen, frowning. "The water temperature just dropped 10 degrees in the last minute. That shouldn't happen this deep." Mina pressed her face against the thick glass window, but saw only endless darkness outside. Their powerful lights barely cut through the water, showing nothing but empty ocean. She had spent 3 years planning this expedition to study the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. The government had given her team millions of dollars and the most advanced submarine ever built. But now, sitting in a tiny metal tube surrounded by crushing water, she wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. "Wait," Hyun said suddenly. "Look at this." The sonar screen showed something impossible. Instead of the smooth ocean floor they expected, there was a massive shape rising from the bottom. It was perfectly geometric, too regular and clean to be a natural rock formation. "That can't be right," Juno muttered. "Run the scan again." The second scan showed the same thing. Something huge was down there. Something that definitely wasn't supposed to exist. "Take us down," Mina ordered. Slowly. As they descended the final few hundred feet, their lights began to reveal the impossible truth. Rising from the ocean floor was a structure made of smooth, dark metal that seemed to absorb their lights while somehow still glowing with a faint inner radiance. The surface was covered in patterns that looked almost like writing, but in no language any human had ever seen. "My God," Juno whispered. "How big is this thing?" They flew along the structure's edge for 20 minutes and still hadn't reached the end. It stretched in every direction, disappearing into the darkness like a buried city the size of Manhattan. "The metal," Juno said, staring at his readings. "It's not showing up on any of our scans. Whatever this is made of, it doesn't exist in our periodic table." Mina felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold water outside. How old could it be? "The sediment layers around it," Hyun said after checking his geological scanner. "They suggest this has been here for at least 65 million years. Maybe longer. 65 million years. That was when the dinosaurs died, when a massive asteroid hit Earth and changed everything forever. But this wasn't an asteroid. This was clearly built by someone with technology far beyond anything humans had ever achieved." As their submarine moved along the structure's surface, Mina noticed something that made her heart race. There were no barnacles on the metal, no coral growth, no sea life at all. After millions of years on the ocean floor, the structure was completely clean, as if it had been built yesterday. "Try scanning for energy signatures," she told Juno. Already did nothing. It's completely dead, no power, no heat, no electromagnetic activity. Whatever this thing is, it's been turned off for a very long time. But as Juno spoke, something strange happened. For just a moment, thin lines of blue light appeared along the patterns on the structure's surface. They pulsed once, like a heartbeat, then disappeared so quickly that Mina almost thought she had imagined it. "Did you see that?" she asked. "See what?" both men replied. The lights didn't come back, but Mina felt a strange sensation, as if something had just looked at her, really looked at her, in a way that saw not just her body but her thoughts, her memories, her entire life history. She shook her head. The pressure and isolation were getting to her. That was all. "We need to report this immediately," she said. "This is the greatest archaeological discovery in human history." They spent 6 more hours documenting the structure, taking hundreds of photographs and measurements. But every test they ran gave them the same result. The metal was unknown to science. The structure showed no signs of age or damage, and despite being buried under 7 miles of ocean for millions of years, it looked like it could start working again at any moment. As they finally began their long ascent to the surface, none of them noticed the faint network of lights that activated deep within the structure. Cameras that had waited eons began recording, Sensors that had slumbered since before humans existed started analyzing the strange visitors. The structure had been waiting for 65 million years for the right moment to wake up. It had watched the rise and fall of countless species. It had felt the vibrations of wars, the tremors of volcanic eruptions, the impact of meteors. But now, for the first time, it had detected something new. Something that might finally be ready for what was coming. Deep in its ancient memory banks, old programs stirred to life. Warning systems that had been dormant since the age of dinosaurs began their slow activation sequence. Soon, very soon, Earth would need protection, and the structure beneath the waves would be ready. 6 months had passed since Dr. Kim Mina's discovery. The strange structure beneath the Pacific Ocean had become the most studied object on Earth, but it remained completely silent. Scientists from every country came to examine it, but their most advanced tools could not make it respond. The metal would not break, burn, or even scratch. It simply sat there waiting. Mina worked at the floating research station built directly above the structure. Every day she descended in submarines to study it, and every day it looked exactly the same. Sometimes she thought she saw faint lights, moving under its surface, but the cameras never caught anything. Her colleagues began to think the pressure was affecting her mind. Then everything changed on a Tuesday morning in July. Admiral Cho Di-ho was drinking coffee in his office at Earth Defense Command when the emergency alarm started screaming. He had been a military officer for 30 years, but he had never heard this particular alarm before. It meant only one thing: contact with alien life, sir. His aide ran into the office without knocking. You need to see this immediately. In the command center, dozens of officers stared at screens showing radar contacts at the edge of the solar system. The objects were huge, each one the size of a city, and there were hundreds of them. How long until they reach Earth? Di-ho asked. At their current speed, 18 hours, replied Captain Bang Min-ho from the tracking station. But sir, they're not using any technology we understand. No rocket engines, no ion drives. They're just moving. The first transmission came 3 hours later. It was broadcast on every radio frequency at once, so powerful that it overloaded communication satellites and caused electronics to spark around the world. When the translation computers finally decoded the alien language, the message was simple and terrifying. Children of the third planet. The voice was cold and mechanical, like the sound of breaking glass. Your world contains something that belongs to us, something left by the old ones long ago. You will surrender it immediately, or you will be removed. Admiral Di-ho stared at the message transcript. What are they talking about? What old ones? Lieutenant Oh Subin looked up from her computer. Sir, I think they mean the structure in the Pacific. It's the only thing on Earth that's old enough to match what they're describing. Before anyone could respond, the aliens sent a demonstration of their power. The largest ship in their fleet, a twisted mass of metal and flesh that looked more grown than built, fired a single beam of red light toward Earth's moon. Luna Colony 7, home to 50,000 people, simply vanished. 1 second it was there, a bright cluster of domes and towers on the moon's surface. The next second there was nothing but a glowing crater of melted rock. The second message arrived minutes later. You have 24 hours to abandon your planet. After that, we will take what we came for by force. In the Pacific Research Station, Dr. Kim Mina felt the structure respond for the first time. The entire ocean floor began to vibrate with a low humming sound that made her teeth ache. Through the submarine's windows, she could see lights racing along the buried structure's surface like lightning trapped in metal. Something's happening, she radioed to the surface. The structure is activating. Every computer screen in the research station suddenly went white. When the brightness faded, strange symbols appeared, not human writing, but somehow Mina could understand what they meant. Threat detected. Preparing defensive measures. Stand by. Then a voice spoke directly into her mind, bypassing her ears entirely. It sounded ancient and tired, like someone who had been sleeping for a very long time. The test begins, it said. We hoped this day would never come, but the children must be ready. On the surface, Admiral Daiho watched his radar screens in amazement. All around Earth, similar structures were rising from the ocean floor, breaking through mountains, and emerging from deep underground. They had been hidden everywhere, connected by networks that spanned the entire planet. "How many are there?" he asked. "We're detecting at least 300, Captain Bang Minho reported. Maybe more. They were right under our noses the whole time." The alien fleet was now close enough to see with telescopes. Their ships looked like enormous sea creatures crossed with machines, organic curves covered in metal plates and weapon systems. They moved through space like swimming fish, graceful but clearly dangerous. "Prepare all defense fleets," Daiho ordered. "I know we don't stand a chance, but we're not going down without a fight." As Earth's small collection of military spacecraft moved into position, the buried structures continued to awaken. Energy readings spiked across the planet. The ocean around Mina's research station began to glow with an eerie blue light that stretched to the horizon. In her submarine, Mina heard the ancient voice again. "Your species has grown faster than we expected," it said. "In 65 million years, you have learned to split atoms, explore space, and work together despite your differences. But now comes the real test. Can you protect not just yourselves, but everything you believe in?" The alien fleet arranged itself in attack formation above Earth's atmosphere. Their weapons began to glow with the same red light that had destroyed Luna Colony 7. But deep beneath the Pacific, something that had waited since the age of dinosaurs was finally ready to wake up completely. The battle for Earth's future was about to begin. The ocean around Dr. Kim Mina's research station began to boil, not from heat, but from something far more powerful rising from the depths below. Through her submarine's thick windows, she watched in amazement as the ancient structure grew larger and larger, pushing up from the sea floor like a metal mountain being born. "This is impossible," she whispered into her radio. "The structure is expanding. It's 10 times bigger than we thought." On the surface, her research team scrambled to evacuate as massive towers of gleaming metal broke through the water. Each tower was covered in patterns that pulsed with blue light, creating a rhythm like a giant heartbeat. The sound was so deep that people could feel it in their bones from miles away. Similar events were happening all over the planet. In the Sahara Desert, nomads watched in shock as golden spires erupted from sand dunes that had stood unchanged for thousands of years. Mountain climbers in the Himalayas ran for their lives as entire peaks split open to reveal crystalline structures that reached toward the sky like fingers. Admiral Cho Daiho stood in Earth Defense Command, watching satellite feeds from around the world. "How many of these things are there?" "We've counted over 500 so far," reported Lieutenant Osubin. "They're on every continent, under every ocean. The whole planet is covered with them." The alien fleet hung in space above Earth like a dark cloud, their bioships waiting for the perfect moment to attack. Their leader, a creature that was part machine and part living flesh, studied the readings with growing confusion. "This is not possible," it said to its officers. "The primitive humans could not have activated the defense grid. They barely understand fire." But the evidence was clear. The ancient network that had slept for millions of years was waking up, and it was responding to the threat from space. Captain Bang Minho felt it first. He was piloting his fighter jet toward the alien fleet when his instruments suddenly changed. The simple radar screen became something amazing, a 3-dimensional display that showed him every enemy ship, every weapon, every possible flight path through the battle that was coming. "Control, this is Blue Leader," he said into his radio. "My ship is doing things I've never seen before." His jet began to modify itself as he watched. The wings grew longer and sharper. New weapons appeared along the hull. The engine became quieter but more powerful. Most importantly, he could suddenly sense the thoughts and feelings of every other pilot in his squadron. "I can hear you all," came Lieutenant Park Suho's voice over the radio. "Not just your words, but your thoughts. We're connected somehow." Dr. Yoon Taik watched through his observatory telescope as Earth's small defense fleet approached the alien ships. The human vessels looked like toys compared to the massive bioships, but something was different about them now. They moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. Down in the Pacific, Dr. Kim Mina felt the ancient intelligence touch her thoughts again. This time, instead of just hearing a voice, she saw images, memories from millions of years ago. She saw Earth as it was before humans existed, covered in vast cities built by creatures that looked almost human but taller and more graceful. She saw these beings working together to build the network of structures, preparing for a threat they knew would come someday. Who were they? She asked. Your children, the voice replied. Or rather, what your children will become millions of years in the future. They learned to travel through time and came back to plant the seeds of their own salvation. The images continued. She saw the advanced humans placing the structures all over the planet, then using time travel to return to their own era. They knew that someday their ancestors would need protection, and they made sure it would be there. The cycle must continue, the voice explained. Every species that reaches the stars faces this test. Those who pass become guardians for the next generation. Those who fail are forgotten. Above Earth's atmosphere, the alien commander grew impatient. Begin the attack, it ordered. Destroy their pathetic defense fleet, then take what we came. 4 the bioships opened fire with weapons that could melt asteroids. Beams of red energy lanced toward the human fleet, each one carrying enough power to vaporize a city. But the beams never reached their targets. The towers rising from Earth's oceans created a shimmering barrier of blue light that absorbed the alien weapons and made them harmless. The energy was captured and fed back into the planetary defense network, making it even stronger. Captain Bang Minho felt his enhanced senses expand even further. He could see the flow of energy through space, the weak points in enemy ships, the exact moment to fire for maximum effect. His squadron moved like a school of fish, each pilot knowing exactly what the others would do. The first human missiles struck the alien bioships with precision that should have been impossible. The enemy's living armor, which had never been penetrated in 1,000 battles, cracked and burned under weapons that seemed to understand exactly how to hurt them. Impossible, the alien commander screamed. They are just primitives. How are they fighting like this? The answer came from Dr. Kim Mina, still connected to the ancient network deep beneath the ocean. The voice in her mind was no longer tired or sad. Now it sounded proud. Because, it said, they are finally ready to graduate. The battle above Earth became unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Bang Minho's fighter squadron moved through space like dancers, each pilot knowing exactly where the others would be without speaking a word. Their ships had transformed completely now, sleek and deadly, powered by energy that flowed directly from the planetary network below. This is incredible, Lieutenant Park Suho said over the radio, as his weapons automatically adjusted to target the weak spots in alien bioships. I can feel the ship thinking with me. The alien commander watched in growing panic as his massive fleet struggled against Earth's tiny defense force. Bioships that had conquered 17 star systems were being outmaneuvered by human pilots, who had learned to fly only decades ago. How is this possible? He demanded of his officers. Their technology was primitive when we arrived, but the human ships were no longer using primitive technology. Each vessel was connected to the ancient network that spanned Earth's surface, drawing power and knowledge from structures that had waited millions of years for this moment. Admiral Chodeho stood in Earth Defense Command, watching displays that showed him the entire solar system battle in perfect detail. He could see every human ship, every alien vessel, and somehow he knew exactly what orders to give. All units execute Pattern Delta 7, he commanded, though he had never heard of Pattern Delta 7 before in his life. The human fleet responded instantly, moving in a complex formation that trapped 3 alien bioships in a triangle of crossfire. The enemy vessels, each the size of a small city, exploded in brilliant flashes of light. On Earth's surface, the network towers were now fully active. They rose from every ocean, every continent, creating a web of energy that connected the entire planet. Dr. Kim Mina watched from her submarine as the structure beneath the Pacific revealed its true size. It stretched from the ocean floor all the way to Earth's core, a massive spine of technology that had been growing for millions of years. "The network is complete," the ancient voice told her. "Your species is ready for the final test." "What final test?" Mina asked. The answer came not in words, but in a flood of understanding that filled her mind. She saw the truth about the aliens, attacking Earth. They were not conquerors seeking to steal ancient weapons. They were teachers, administering an examination that every spacefaring species must pass. The Vorth Collective, as they called themselves, had once been students too. Thousands of years ago, their own world had been attacked by a different species playing the role of examiner. They had passed their test and joined the galactic community. Now it was their turn to test others. "Every civilization that reaches the stars faces this moment," the voice explained. "They must prove they can defend not just themselves, but the principles that make them worthy guardians of younger species." In space, the battle was turning in humanity's favor. The alien bioships were powerful, but they fought as individuals. The human fleet fought as one organism, each ship an extension of a single planetary mind. Lieutenant O'Subin piloted her bomber through a maze of enemy fire, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to dodge attacks that moved at the speed of light. Her weapons found their targets with impossible accuracy, striking the exact points where the bioship's living armor was weakest. "Target the neural clusters," she called to her squadron, though she had never heard the term neural cluster before. Somehow she knew exactly what they were and where to find them. The alien commander felt fear for the first time in centuries. His fleet was being dismantled by creatures he had dismissed as barely intelligent, but there was something else growing in his mind alongside the fear: respect. "They adapt faster than any species we have tested," he told his officers. "Each attack makes them stronger. Each challenge teaches them something new." Dr. Yoon Taik watched through his telescope as the battle spread across the solar system. Human ships were now fighting near Jupiter, using the planet's gravity to slingshot around and attack the alien fleet from unexpected angles. The coordination was perfect, as if every pilot shared the same brilliant tactical mind. On Earth, people around the world felt the connection. Factory workers in Seoul found themselves understanding advanced physics. Farmers in rural villages could suddenly see the mathematical patterns that governed orbital mechanics. Children drew pictures of star maps they had never seen but somehow knew by heart. The network had not just awakened to defend Earth, it had awakened humanity's potential. Captain Bang Minho led the final assault against the alien flagship. The massive bioship tried to escape toward the outer planets, but human fighters surrounded it like hunting wolves. Their weapons, now fully adapted to fight organic technology, began to shut down the creature's vital systems one by one. "Wait," came a new voice over the radio, not human, but speaking perfect Korean. "The test is complete. Cease your attack." Tidao, alien commander's bioship, stopped trying to flee. Instead, it began to change, its weapon systems retracting, its hostile appearance becoming something more peaceful. "You have passed," the alien said. "Welcome to the greater community." But Admiral Cho Dae-ho was not ready to trust so easily. The network had taught him to think several steps ahead, and he sensed this was not the end of the test. It was only the beginning of something much larger. The alien flagship hung motionless in space as Captain Bang Minho's squadron surrounded it. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then a section of the bioship's hull opened like a flower, and something extraordinary emerged. It was not the monster that Admiral Cho Dae-ho had expected. Instead, a being of crystalline beauty floated toward the human ships, part organic, part machine, but somehow elegant rather than frightening. When it spoke, its voice carried music that made everyone who heard it feel calm. "I am Commander Vex of the Vorth Collective," it said, "and I bring congratulations. Your species has passed the trial of ascension." Dr. Kim Mina, still connected to the ancient network beneath the Pacific, felt understanding flow through her mind like warm water. The truth was more amazing than she could have imagined. The attack was fake, she whispered to herself. It was all a test. The network's ancient voice confirmed her realization. Every species that reaches the stars must face this trial. They must prove they can defend others, not just themselves. Most species fight only to survive. But humans fought to protect their entire world, their way of life, their future. In space, Commander Vex's crystalline form began to glow as it transmitted the full truth to Earth's leaders. The images that filled their minds showed the real history of the galaxy. Millions of years ago, the first intelligent species had learned to travel between stars. But they discovered that the universe was dangerous, full of creatures that conquered and destroyed rather than created and protected. So they developed the trial system. Every new species would be tested by those who came before them. If they passed, they would join the galactic community and eventually become teachers themselves. If they failed, they would be left alone until they were ready to try again. The Vorth Collective passed our trial 3,000 years ago, Commander Vex explained. Before us, the Crystal Hegemony served as examiners. Before them, the Void Dancers. Each species that graduates eventually takes a turn as teacher. Admiral Chodeho felt his mind expanding as the network shared more knowledge with him. He saw images of hundreds of worlds, each populated by beings that had passed their own trials. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that his mind could barely process their forms. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you choose," Vex replied. "You can remain on Earth and develop at your own pace. Or you can join us among the stars and help prepare the next species for their trial." Lieutenant Park Suho was the first to understand what this really meant. "We become the aliens," he said over the radio. "In the future, we'll be the ones testing other planets." The thought should have been scary, but instead it felt right. Humanity had always been explorers, always pushing toward new frontiers. This was just the biggest frontier of all. Dr. Yoon Taik watched through his telescope as the alien fleet began to transform. The bioships that had seemed so threatening were revealing their true nature, not weapons of war, but schools and laboratories. Each one was a mobile university designed to teach new species about the galaxy they were joining. On Earth, the network towers began to change as well. Instead of defensive weapons, they became something even more amazing: gateways to the stars. The same technology that had protected the planet could now launch ships across the galaxy in the blink of an eye. "The first lesson you must learn," Commander Vex said, "is that power exists to protect, not to conquer. This is why the trial exists. Only species that understand this truth can be trusted with the knowledge of the ancients." Dr. Kim Mina felt the ancient intelligence in the network beginning to fade, its job finally complete. But before it disappeared entirely, it shared one last secret. "The network was not built by your future selves," it told her. "It was built by us, the first species to pass the trial, so long ago that even we have forgotten our original name. We seeded the galaxy with these defense systems, then evolved beyond physical form. Every species that passes the trial becomes part of us eventually." The realization was overwhelming. Humanity had not just joined a community of star-traveling species. They had become part of something ancient and eternal, a collective consciousness that spanned the entire galaxy, dedicated to nurturing and protecting new life wherever it emerged. Captain Bang Minho felt tears in his eyes as he looked at his transformed fighter. The ship was no longer just a machine. It was a living partner that would carry him to worlds beyond imagination. And someday, when humanity had learned enough, they would help build new networks around new worlds where younger species were just beginning to look up at the stars. "The cycle continues," Commander Vex said, its crystalline form beginning to fade as it returned to its ship. "Welcome to the infinite, children of Earth. Your real adventure is just beginning." As the Vorth fleet prepared to depart, leaving behind teachers and technology to help humanity take its first steps into the galaxy, Admiral Chodeho made a decision that would echo through history. "Prepare the first human expedition ship," he ordered. "It's time to find the next species that needs our help." In the depths of space, an ancient network detected the birth of intelligence on a distant world. The beings there had just discovered agriculture and were beginning to build their first cities. They would need protection someday. And when that day came, humanity would be ready.